Alright, so you guys should have your chapter 2.1, 2.2 reviews in front of you. We are going to go over the answers. I have the defined key terms filled in, so we're going to go through those quickly. You could have used the glossary or the textbook and stuff to find that information, so it makes it really easy. Okay, so our first one was define organisms, and they are any living thing. Then, question 2, what characteristics do living things share? Neely, give me one.
Cellular organization.
Okay. Cellular organization. What's another one? I think there's a total of 6. Somebody should have it. Go ahead.
Similar. Similar.
Yep. Similar chemicals. So what they're composed of, what they're made of. What else? Go ahead. Keep going.
Use of energy.
Okay. Energy use. Okay. Respond to surroundings. So that's that stimulus and response.
Their ability to grow and develop and reproduce.
Okay, they can grow and develop, and then they can also reproduce. Okay? Then the definition of cell is the basic unit of structure and function in an organism. We will be getting into cells a lot more in the last part of chapter 2. Unicellular is only having a single cell, so you can just say single cell, one cell, something like that. Multicellular is composed of many cells. And then what do you have for the definition of stimulus, and what would an example be? The stimulus is that loud crash. That definition is going to be the change in surroundings that cause an organism to respond, right? So that change is that stimulus. Then that change in temperature, so getting hotter or colder, night or daylight, a loud noise, those are all examples, okay? Then the response is that reaction to the change, okay? Or the reaction to the stimulus, which, in Allie, your example, that'd be like jumping or getting startled, okay? Maybe like sweating if it gets really hot, that's a response. Or like going and hiding in the shade or something like that, okay? Do try to remember the difference and what a stimulus and response are, and those specific definitions, how the stimulus is the change in surroundings, and then the response is that reaction, right? Then you needed to define growth, which is just becoming bigger, becoming larger, and then development is that process of change over time to create a more complex organism. Okay, this is like you're gaining more knowledge, you have more understanding, you have more skills on how to complete a task or function as an organism. Then for question 10, how are development and growth different? What do you guys have? This is kind of a compare and contrast, like explain how they're different or how they go together. Haley?
Whenever you're growing,
Okay, so whenever you're growing, you're just kind of becoming larger, getting bigger, but whenever you're developing, you're becoming more complex. So you do want to have some sort of explanation like that. Hint, hint, this is probably going to be on the test that you have to compare the two. So growth is just getting bigger, while development is becoming more complex and gaining more knowledge and understanding. Okay? Something like that. Then question 11, what is spontaneous generation? What do we got? This was a warm-up this week. Gage?
Theory that all living things come from a non-living thing.
Okay? A theory that all living things come from something non-living. Is this true? It is not. Not true, which means it's disproven. Just as a little side note, if you want to put that in there. Okay? Then, what are the 4 basic needs of living things? Think about what you need to survive. Give me one.
Water.
Okay, water. Allie?
Food.
Food. Haley? Living space, so like that shelter, things we live in. And one more. Haley. Homeostasis. So those stable internal conditions you want your body to be able to regulate. Okay, question 13 then, you needed to define autotroph, which is an organism that can make its own food. 14, defining heterotroph is that organism that cannot make its own food, then they have to eat other organisms. And then homeostasis is defined as the maintenance of stable internal conditions. Okay, good so far? Okay. Classification then is defined as the process of grouping things together based on their similarities. Question 17 is why then do biologists organize living things into groups? Is that important? Haley? Okay. It makes it easier to study the organisms based on their similarities. Taxonomy then is defined as the scientific study of how living things are classified. Then for 19, you needed to define binomial nomenclature and list who created it. So what do we got? Haley?
An easy system to name organisms.
Okay. System used to name organisms. And then you have who created it?
Yeah. Carl was and something like that.
Carlos Linnaeus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right? Question 20 then is define genus, which is a group that contains similar closely related organisms. And then your species is the group of similar organisms that can mate and reproduce offspring that can also mate and reproduce. Right? That is your specific animal species. Then question 22, how do the major levels of classification help compare organisms? What we got? Allie?
They help compare by being grouped by what similar organisms.
Yep. Okay, so it helps group organisms together based on their similar characteristics. So the more groups and those more levels that organisms share, the more similarities they have in common. Then question 23 is, what are the 8 levels of classification? What do we got? This is also something you want to know for the test. Hint. Allie, give me the first one.
Domain.
Okay, domain. Logan?
Kingdom.
Kingdom. Taylor?
Island.
Phylum. 4. Logan?
Class.
Class. Age?
Order.
That's it. Order. I always get confused which one goes in. Logan?
Family.
Family. Allie?
Genera.
Genera or that genus?
Species.
Yes!
Yes.
Thanks,
Sorry.
Mrs. Reed. Alright, so, this was our warm-up today. What characteristics are used to classify organisms into domains and kingdoms? Taylor?
Their cell type, their ability to make food, and the number of cells in their body.
Yep. Okay, so again, their cell type, if they're prokaryotic or eukaryotic, their ability to make food, heterotroph or autotroph, and the number of cells in their body, either unicellular or multicellular. Then 25 is defining prokaryote. That is the organism whose cells lack a nucleus. Your nucleus is a dense area in the cell that contains nucleic acids. We will get into those more as well in the later part of chapter 2. Jumping into question 27, where are archaea found? This is a specific domain of organisms. What do you guys have? Allie?
Hot springs.
Okay, hot springs.
Very salty water.
Okay, very salty water. I would say in general, like extreme conditions, right? Yeah, it's gonna be like a crazy place. Then question 28 was, why are archaea classified separate from bacteria? What do you got? Haley?
Their structure, chemical makeup are different.
Did you say their structure?
Yeah.
Okay, yep. Their structure and chemical makeup are different. So while they do have similarities, like maybe the number of cells or how they get food, they're made up of different chemicals, and they do have a different structure. Okay, defining eukaryote, question 29, the organism whose cells contain nuclei. So we are part of the eukaryotic domain, and then we're part of the animal kingdom. Question 30 then, the 4 kingdoms of the domain eukarya. If you actually look at the chart below this question, those are the 4 kingdoms. So they are protists, fungi, plants, and animals. And then our chart, you are comparing those 4 kingdoms of eukarya. So how they eat, whether they're autotrophic or heterotrophic, they could also be both. Number of cells, unicellular, multicellular, or both, and then you had to give examples. So we're just going to go through the first 2 quick. How do protists eat? Are they autotrophic, heterotrophic, or both? Allie? They are both. Right? How about fungi? Taylor?
Heterotroph.
We agree? I don't remember if they are both or not. I think they're all. Actually, are they? They're all heterotrophs. Okay. Plants. Allie? Autotrophs. And animals. Gage.
Heterotrophs.
Heterotrophs.
Could
Yep.
plants be both?
Plants.
Like a Venus flytrap?
Yeah, you could probably argue that. Yeah, you could possibly say that. I don't know if they would say that's the main source, but we'll add it in. Number of cells for protists. What do we got? Unicellular, multicellular, or both? Allie?
Both.
Both. What about fungi? Bailey? Multicellular. Or did you say most were? Okay. So then, yeah, they would be both. Plants? Alex? Multicellular. And animals. Us. Gage.
Multicellular?
Multicellular. Right? And then the examples through the text or in our notes, you just need to list those examples. Okay? Please make sure your reviews are submitted so that you have